Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. It's brother Ijaz again, and today we're doing a Trini Talk Tuesdays episode. I'm actually joined by the venerable Yusuf Ponders. Assalamu alaikum, Yusuf. And
Walaikum salam.
okay, he found his unmute button. Finally, it took him long enough. And we're also joined, mashallah, by one of my closer brothers, brother Gugabite. Assalamu alaikum, Guga. How are you?
Walaikum salam.
That's
Alhamdulillah.
five to get me as
What
well.
about
That
you?
then. One of my closer brothers. I'm a further one.
Yeah.
So today, inshallah, I want to touch on a topic that will ruffle definitely a few feathers, and it's not typical for this channel that I go into things which are more personal. And I find that there's a need to discuss this topic, particularly, how the Muslim community treats our chronically ill, differently abled brothers and sisters in the Deen. So it might get a bit rough. If we, I do apologize in advance if anything that we were about to say will be distressing to anyone out there, but I feel like this is something that needs to be said. Now, obviously, Yusuf ponders. I think, and I don't want to assume, but Yusuf, you don't have any illnesses that we don't know about, yeah?
No, I'm
Just being a philosopher is bad enough.
Yeah. I suffer from being a northerner.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
It's about
Okay.
it.
And Guga, do you want to disclose for the audience what your particular differences, your ability?
Yeah, I have a SMA, which means spinal muscular atrophy.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, every time my muscles get weaker until the end.
Yeah. And that goes for your heart muscles as well, I assume, and your lungs.
No, I don't. I think it doesn't affect like organs.
Okay, but
Only
your
like,
limbs and spine. That
Yeah,
kind of
limbs.
stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to start off with first defining what being chronically ill means. So being chronically ill means being, for a period of 6 months or more, basically suffering from a particular illness or disease. And it's been my experience in the Muslim community, even though our religion, our deen, our beautiful deen teaches us to take care of the sick, we are actually looked down upon in the community. We are seen as lesser Muslims, at least from my experience and what I've seen from others, and we don't get the support that we are meant to receive. Now, this does not refer to entitlement, let me be clear, but I want to give a little bit of maybe if you brothers will allow me, a 5 to 10 minutes, just like introduction, just to flesh out what I think some of us will experience. So, Gugabite, your experience is different from mine in the sense that you were born with your illness. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
And mine was slightly different. Now, obviously, I was born with mine, but these symptoms really came about when I was around my 20th birthday, basically. But that does not mean that Guga's illness is worse than mine or mine is worse than his. We both have our individual experiences, and we're not here to devalue anyone else's experience in being ill. And you might be wondering, okay, then what is Yusuf Ponders doing here? Well, you see, Yusuf is a very insightful person, and because he has to study, and he has studied, at least from the philosophical Islamic perspective, on what suffering is and what this entails for the personal self and how it transforms an individual, I want him to be here to, speak to some of that, especially when it comes to the problem of evil and that kind of thing. So we're going to go there today, inshallah. We're going to go all out. So I'll start off with this. I'm going to give an example, and I want people to try their best to understand. And Guga, Yusuf, interrupt me at any point to give your input on this. I think for a normal person, if you have a headache, let's say you wake up on Monday morning and you have a headache and you've got to go to work, right? This is the pre-pandemic world where we all pretend we still had jobs. And, you start off your day, you're going to be groggy, you're going to be irritable because you've got to put that little bit of extra energy, that extra will, that extra, force into everything that you do. The sun is too bright, it aggravates you. The kids are making noise, you have to go to work, and your co-workers are yapping away. It annoys you. And see, the thing is, you've got to put more energy into doing everything because you're impacted by this headache that you have. Now, the difference between you and a chronically ill person or a differently abled person is when you go home in the evening, you can pop two paracetamol or two, Panadol or whatever you want to call it, and you sleep. And when you wake up the next day, that headache is going to be gone. You're going to spend the next day recovering. You're going to have an energy deficit, no doubt about it, but you're going to recover and you will feel actually better. But a person who is chronically ill or differently abled will not get that opportunity to recharge. Every day is a day lost in terms of your energy and your ability. So day by day, you literally lose a little bit of your ability to function. And see that weighs on you over time. Has that been your experience, Google? Day by day, things get difficult, more difficult, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Like when I was a kid, I was able to do much more than I am
Mhm.
now. Now I'm kind of limited, and yeah, it's hard sometimes when you want to do something and you can't by your own and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And I feel like people who don't have these illnesses or who aren't differently abled, they, they think, well, okay, can't you just eat better and you'll be magically cured? Why don't you go for a run? Why don't you, eat healthier foods? Why don't you go on a diet? Those are options to help improve the quality of life that we have. And in medical terms, there is something known as the HRQOL, health related quality of life. So everyone has a different health related quality of life. A person with cancer and a person with diabetes, even though they both have illnesses, their health related quality of life will be fundamentally different. For some of them, it would be easier, and for others, it would be much worse. A healthier person, just keep in mind, you have that ability to recharge and get back your energy, regain your ability. So, people in our position, we don't have that ability to regain. It's a bit like the difference between having disposable batteries and having rechargeable batteries. We're stuck with the disposable batteries. Once they're done, they're done. They don't recharge. Right, and there's nothing that we can
Yeah,
do to make them recharge. Would that be accurate, Google Bytes?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. And I like how your name is Gigabyte and in brackets, real Gigabyte, as if there was a doubt that you're the only one that I know whose name is Gigabyte. But
There's some Gigabyte imposters out there
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
playing too much Among Us.
subhanallah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So now, what about the case? And we need to put this out there. What, in terms of psychology, right? When I've looked at studies for a very long time to understand my own perspective and other people's perspective. People may not realize this, but if you suffer from a pain condition that is chronic, which means 6 months or more, so I believe that Google Bite, you also suffer from pain due to your illness. Would that be correct?
Not really.
Okay, so I suffer from
I
pain.
mean,
Once,
yeah. I mean, as I get older, like as the muscles get weaker,
mhm,
I think there is some kind of pain.
mhm,
And I had last year on my chest, I was feeling like a bit of pain, and I thought
mhm.
it was my heart, and on the hospital up and down. But
Oh,
alhamdulillah, nowadays I'm better.
Alhamdulillah.
alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So, at least for my condition, which is primarily pain related, what the studies show is that people who suffer from like high level pain conditions, they're classified as being equivalent to being torture victims. Because, see, the difference between a person with temporary pain and with chronic permanent pain is that the person with temporary pain, again, that pain eventually stops. It's a difference between being like poked with a pin and then being stabbed with a pin and the pin stays inside of you, right? One is temporary, the other is permanent, right? In a world where the pin stays inside you. So what they say is that a person who experiences a high level intensity of pain for 6 months or more and is thus considered permanent on a more permanent basis, that person is considered equivalent to being a torture victim. And what does this mean? It means that their life becomes encapsulated, focused on that pain and that pain alone. And this is where we get into the problem of the self, right? So I'll give an example. How many of you, when you go to turn a doorknob, you don't think twice about it? When you go to open a tap, you don't have to think twice about it. When you have to tie a bag, you don't have to think twice about it. If you have to use a knife or a can opener, or you have to press the button on the microwave, you may look at that and you might even not even think about it consciously. It's something that you can move your limbs and do. But for some of us, it's very difficult. So for me, last week, I'm in the kitchen and I want to make a cup of coffee, which I normally do. And as you can see, I'm missing my coffee mug, right? My left hand decided, well, Ijaz, I don't like you today. And I just threw the coffee cup literally like a baseball into the sink, smashed it everywhere.
That's the point.
So now what comes out of that? That coffee mug was different. Why? Because I don't have the strength to like lift something which is heavy. And two, especially something that is hot, my hand just loses the ability to like grab sometimes. So for me, that made it extremely difficult because now not only do I have to clean up the glass that went everywhere, I already woke up in more pain than I usually experience. So my day already started off quite terribly, right? For other people, you break a glass, you drop something, you'll just stoop down and pick it up. Yusuf, do you ever think about, oh, I have to stoop down and pick this up? Does that ever occur to you? This is going to change my day if I stoop down and I get a spike in pain. Does that ever pass your mind?
So, not really throughout my life. As I'm getting a bit older now, and especially since I've had my daughter, I'm getting in the habit of like pulling muscles a lot. So I'm getting a bit of a dad bod. So I've been trying to like exercise and sort of get myself a bit more fit. And I think I pushed myself a bit too far and end up pulling my Achilles tendon. And it's been like that for about 3 or 2 months now. And whenever I've been to sleep, I wake up, it's always a lot worse. And trying to go down and like the daughter's always bloody running me ragged, isn't she? And so whenever I'm doing something, I have to pick her up. Like the amount of times I've pulled muscles from doing it and things like that. But it's things that usually in time sort of sort themselves out.
What if you went to the doctor's office and they said, I'm sorry, Yusuf, this is going to be permanent from now on? How would that change your outlook on the pain that you're experiencing now?
Yeah, well, I was thinking that when you were talking about your experiences there. And subhanAllah, to be honest, I wouldn't really know. Because this is one of the things with, like, as someone who doesn't really suffer from sort of chronic issues, trying to sort of get yourself from your own little bubble into the bubble of someone who has to go through these kind of things every day. And I guess there's, if you, like in terms of trying to understand it, a lot of it just requires asking questions, getting to know what's going on, and you know, obviously the whole empathy thing, trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes. But I guess the issue with that is that we don't want to, like, we feel awkward about it, I guess is probably the best way of putting it. We don't know what questions are the right questions to ask, whether certain questions are maybe peering too much into the person's life or getting too personal. And then we don't want to sort of put a spotlight on that person's suffering at all and make it worse for them. And so these are the sort of things that I guess act as barriers for people who don't suffer from chronic issues from really getting to understand the life of those who do, or trying to sort of gain a bit of insight so that maybe we can fix a few of the issues. And I'm guessing this barrier, which is generally just created out of fearing of saying the wrong thing, of maybe pushing too far, and maybe I don't know how to word it exactly, but just making the situation worse or awkward. These are the kind of things that act as barriers, I guess, in terms of maybe even putting things in place, or creating connections with people that do suffer from these sort of things, and kind of giving the community an opportunity to be able to help them with it. That's personally how I would sort of put it anyway.
This is one of the problems, because I feel like, I want to ask Google a question along a similar vein here. I lie to people every day. I'm like one of the worst liars out there. Now, I call it masking, and the technical term for it is masking, but there is something known as compassion. What do you call it again? It slipped my mind. Compassion, compassion. This is what happens. Just give me a second here. It's basically at the point in which you stop caring about other people. I forget it. I really forget the name of it. But give me a second here. So masking is where you pretend that your pain isn't as bad, or you pretend that you're not suffering as bad as you are, because you don't want your, like. I'll just give my experience here, right? And Google, you can chime in perhaps as well on this. Um, People stop caring after some point in time, because when you get sick, people generally assume, and the normal thing is you get better eventually. But when your situation gets from bad to worse, they stop caring. And it's called compassion burnout, basically, right? Doctors face this as well. Like, like some of them start off their career wanting to help, nurses as
Yeah.
well, but then at some point they're like, okay, this is just a job, I just have to do this thing every day for this particular person. And I'll give you an example. See, the thing is, let's say, I got sick when I was 20. Like in my later 20s now. So, like, very early on, I would say that people would generally understand it. Oh, okay, he's unwell. Okay, a year later, he's still unwell. 2 years later, he's probably just doing it for attention. Like 3 years later, he probably just wants money, right? This guy, he can't be that sick, right? Look how normal he looks. Look how handsome Yusuf looks. Look how handsome Google Bat looks. Can these guys actually suffer from something, right? And the thing is, although we tend to think of ourselves as good people, and we want to imagine ourselves as religious people belonging to a faithful community, or we pretend that we practice the sunnah. I'm going to be honest, right? I know an imam here in Toronto absolutely hates disabled people, takes advantage of them all the time, right? Me included. So I want to point out to you, like, what happens when something like this occurs. I'm going to give you a real life example. Let's say you think you have a good relationship with someone, and when someone's sick, you often tend to ask, how are you, because you want to check in on them. But if every time you ask them how are you, they come back with a worse and worse answer, at some point you're going to feel like, I'm not having fun with this person, and although I want to care for them, I just, that relationship that we once had, we don't have anymore, so we can't actually continue it. Most people, and a Google Byte, I don't know if this has been your experience, most people are truly only your friends to have fun with you. When that fun comes out of the picture and you become an individual who needs help and you need assistance, that's when the distance begins to, like, develop, because you
Yeah.
stop being the person you can go to the movies with, you stop being the person you can play games with, you stop being the person you can go to dinners with, right? It becomes now, okay, all you need is help all of the time. I don't want to help you, basically.
Mm.
I want to do things which are fun. So most people are only in your life, and you'll realize this as a sick person, and sick people will admit this, that people just want to have fun, and when they don't have fun, they start to withdraw. And when they can't feel good about the charity that they give to you, or the support that they pretend to give to you, at some point they just give up. They don't care about you as the individual. You begin to be seen as a burden. What are your thoughts on this, Google Bite? Have you experienced this?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Like when you are a kid, you have friends, let's call them, and as you grow older, you see people one by one, like because they want to go out and go for a coffee or go here, go there, and you can't. And yeah, it happens, to be honest.
And they stop asking you to go out because they know that your answer is going to be no. See,
Yeah,
in my case, if someone says to me, Ijaz, let's go out tonight, right? I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to tell me a day in advance, so I know when to schedule my medication, how to prepare my body, because there are some days that I can't get up out of the bed. Other people might not look at that as a challenge, but for some of us, doing something like that can mean the difference between, okay, I'm in too much pain, I have to go to the hospital, get morphine or something, or I have to go and get fentanyl or something, right? I can't always get that and do that. I don't always have access to those kinds of drugs. So what seems mundane to you, what seems trivial to you, it's actually, very difficult for us, and we don't like being seen as burdens on other people. Isn't that the
Yeah,
case,
yeah,
Gugabite? Is that
yeah,
a
yeah,
fear that you always carry with you, that people will stop considering you as a brother and a friend, and rather they replace you with the word burden? Is that something that's at the back of your mind?
yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, you don't think about it, but you have it. Like
Mhm.
sometimes it comes out. Like you think about it.
When we play video games with you, right, for example, there are
Yeah,
certain limitations that you have where you can't play certain video games with us.
yeah, yeah,
And you're not always public, or you're not always vocal about the difficulties that you have, and so people will just like brush it off. Sometimes they will not consider, okay, what are the limitations that Gigabyte has, and how can we work within those limitations,
hmm,
right? Instead, they're like,
yeah,
okay, well, we can play without you. That's why, when people suggest a game to you, and I step in sometimes, and I'm like, no, I will be vocal for my brother Google, because they may,
yeah, yeah,
either they may not know, or they do know and they're not considering the limitations that you have, and that
yeah,
bothers me, because it happens to me too. It
yeah,
legitimately happens to me. I'll give you guys an experience. When you're young like me, and you go into the masjid, alhamdulillah, right, and you pull up a chair to pray, right, you look like me. I can stand up, right? I can stand up. I could prostrate, that kind of thing. But if I do it, it's a risk. I'm being honest with you. So
yeah,
when I pull out a chair, you will always see the masjid uncles, and this is not to give all masjid uncles a bad rep, but you will always see them giving you a side eye. You will always see them like making comments like, "Why can't you stand up?" Even if you let them know, "Hey, I have an illness or I have a disability," instantly, but you look fine. And this
yeah,
is because in their generation, they weren't educated really about people who have invisible illnesses, right? So, like Guga's illness, like if I say this very nicely, Guga, you can
yeah,
visually witness it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But you look at me,
definitely.
I'm like, I'm Uncle Ijaz, handsome, good
Yeah,
looking, brilliant, beautiful, handsome, one of the best among us players out there, mashallah, you
definitely.
know.
Yeah,
But
Bro, you're so on top of the Us. Whenever you've done something wrong, all we can hear is you laughing like a maniac.
yeah, yeah,
and they will immediately judge me like, do you really need a chair? But alhamdulillah, at least here in Toronto, and back home at least, I went to masajid where people knew me. So I had the experience here in Toronto. The older uncles would pull up a chair for me in advance when it's time for the prayer. They don't realize like how that makes me feel. I was actually happy to see that, like, okay, I don't have to run and grab a chair and then pull it up. They can help me out and do it for me, right?
yeah,
When people like bring a meal for me, or they give me a ride somewhere, they don't know that you've saved me from having to walk like 10 minutes and then end up in like 2 nights of pain because of that 10-minute walk. They don't know by helping me get something done, you've like saved me like 2 nights worth of pills, and like like heating pads, and taking hot baths, and not being able to do anything else. Again, people don't realize, and this is why I think the dean emphasizes helping the sick so much. You don't honestly know how badly we need that help.
Yeah, and it is
Now,
something that's really emphasized in the Quran as well. Like constantly, it's help the sick, the needy, the orphans, the traveler, etc. But it's always emphasized quite repeatedly. Do you mind if I ask you some questions then? So, like for example,
it depends who you're asking.
both of you, both of you. So, like for example, when like you mentioned the example of us playing games and things like that, and obviously there's certain restrictions that Google has with regards to what he can play and what he can't. Now, obviously, our relationship when we're playing these games is
Mhm.
pretty much 99% on voice
Yes,
calls.
yes.
So there's certain cues and things like that that maybe indicate something further. But I think half of the time people, they're just sort of engrossed in whatever it is they're doing,
Mhm.
and then they don't really think, or because these things are quite rare as well. and you're not necessarily coming across people that have these conditions or suffer from these things very often. Maybe it's just not something that's sinking into the head. So I would guess, what kind of things would you recommend us, in terms of like, what could we do, for example, when we're playing these games, or if we're with you, and not necessarily specific just to the gaming situation, but just in general, what kind of things, other than simply just, for example, bringing the chair, because that's very specific, what kind of things can we do? Like, how many questions can we ask? When does it become awkward? What kind of questions do you get sick of? What kind of questions do you not like? What makes you feel more awkward, kind of thing? Because this is obviously again, kind of referring to this barrier, is when people don't really suffer from these things, or don't have anyone around them that suffers from these things. We just, there's no real way of figuring out how to navigate that. You know, what's the best way of approach? And like, even now, like, it just ends up, you feel powerless, you feel ignorant, you feel silly, because it feels like these are questions you should already know the answers to, but just because you've never had this experience around you, like, I don't really have anyone around me. The closest thing that we ever had in high school, there was a few people that were bound to wheelchairs, but they were always like quite distant. They were always in the years below. We maybe see them passing, and like we say hi and things like that, and we try and be as nice as possible. But there was a difficulty in, like, how do you cross that bridge? How do you approach them without being too awkward, or looking like you're only approaching them because, like, XYZ, maybe you feel sorry for them, or obviously this is all really awkward territory, and we don't really want to cause
discontent or insult,
or put them in an awkward position. We don't want to offend them, and so these are difficult things to sort of bridge, I guess. So, like, so I'll put it to you guys, both of you. Like, what kind of questions do you not like? What kind of things do you think would sort of help bridge that gap, and sort of improve, I guess, the relation between you and the people that don't really understand the position you're in, or the things that you go through?
So, okay, Guga, you if you want to, like, answer first, I'm okay with that. So, do you want me to continue?
Yeah, go first. No, go first.
Okay, so I don't think I've ever met a person who's chronically ill or differently abled who does not like answering questions. But there's a line, and the line is, if there is something that we tell you that we're uncomfortable with, like, if you ask us, are you unwell, and we say yes, and then you ask, well, what are you sick with, and we say we would rather not discuss it, there will always be that individual that will be like, so you're sick, but you can't tell me what you're sick with. So how do I know that you're not lying? They immediately assume that you're making it up, right? And some of us have, we don't want to get into those details because it can actually be embarrassing for us when you find out, okay, well, it's X illness with Y consequences. And if we tell you that we're uncomfortable, or we ask you to stop, that's us telling you this is a red line territory. We would prefer that you not continue. And generally speaking, if you ask us, rather than assuming, like, I'm pretty sure Google, right? Would you rather people come up and push your wheelchair, or would you rather they ask you, can I take you somewhere? Can I help you with something? What would you prefer here, Google?
Yeah, I need to ask. It will be better, to be honest, rather than doing it yourself. Because then you give a choice to the person. How can I say that? So yeah, I mean, for me, I don't mind people asking. To be honest, I can answer whatever. Maybe in some cases, depending on how I'm feeling that day, for example. But in general, I don't mind answering. Has not always been like that. When I was a kid, like, and I got online, I didn't really tell people that I had a disability, whatever. But as I grow older, nowadays I tell people I don't mind. I don't have that problem.
And I find,
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah,
did you find that by, when people ask you questions that you want to answer, you're not like, you don't find it a problem to give answers because you feel as if educating them is better than, letting them assume things, because the
yeah,
assumptions actually hurt quite a lot, actually.
yeah.
Like
Definitely.
I'll give an example of something that happened more recently. Like I take a long time to like respond to emails, right? And one, it's the volume of the emails, right? That's definitely a problem. But the second thing is I don't always feel well enough to respond to all the questions that I get. And people will be like, I sent you a question, why aren't you responding? And I'm like, one, like chill in the first place, and two, I'm not well, but you look fine. I'm telling you, I'm unwell. Please just understand that. I don't want to go into details, but you will look fine. Why are you lying? That really upsets me. And I've had
Yeah,
that happen a few times. And there's only one thing I do in that situation: I walk away. Because if I stay, I'm going to say something that no one is going to like. And
yeah,
I've had that happen very recently as well. I just turned off the phone and I literally like put it down and I didn't touch it for the next 10 minutes. Because if I said what was on my mind, I would get blacklisted by YouTube. I would get, I'm not even monetized, but I end up getting demonetized in any case, right? People don't understand
yeah,
that when you make us uncomfortable, we're already in a bad space as it is, right? When you're forceful and you doubt what we're telling you, we're not saying believe everyone, but the thing is, if someone is willing to tell you, hey, I'm not well, you should be willing to understand that on some level. Don't keep pushing buttons because you feel as if you have a right to know everything about that person's life. It robs us of our self dignity and our self autonomy. And Guga, I mean, we discussed this earlier, but we didn't get to exploit a great deal. But the loss of autonomy, the loss of being able to do things for yourself,
yeah,
that changes you, right? Like I'm a person that loves kids. I love to like run kids and pick them up and pinch their cheeks, whatnot, right? That's why Yusuf never invites me over anymore. But the point is, right? It took me a while. It took me a long while to get adjusted to the reality that I can't do that anymore and that
yeah,
I shouldn't be doing it anymore. Like if my mom's watching, she'll know. Like half the time, she'll see me running towards Ijaz. Stop! Don't pick up the kid. We'll pick up the kid and put it in your hands. And even so, you should be sitting down when we put the kid in your hands, right?
yeah,
There's a period of adjustment because we have to fight tooth and nail for the things that we. You see, we don't like losing our abilities. We
yeah.
don't like losing them. It's uncomfortable. So, like, let me ask you a question here. People in the chat, when you change your bed sheet, it takes you like what, 2 minutes? Throw the sheet on, tuck it under, done. But when you have a muscular issue or you have a nerve problem, lifting the mattress to tuck the bed sheet under, taking off the bed sheets in the first place, stretching to get it to the corners, all of that is a step, and every step is a risk, and every risk is a chance of pretty bad pain, at
Yeah.
least in my case. So, Google, what about you? When you see your self autonomy being lost over time, how does that affect you?
Uh, It's upsetting to be honest. When you when you think what I was able to do, and for a long time I thought it was my fault for losing because I didn't know like my disability until
Mhm.
what I had exactly. Because in Albania we categorized it kind of tetraplegia, which is not really it. So I didn't really know the SMA part.
Mhm.
So I thought that I lost power because I stopped moving myself so much, and that was upsetting. But then I learned that it's nothing up to me anymore. It's something that happens. It doesn't matter what you do. So yeah, it's upsetting, especially when you want to do stuff by yourself.
Mhm.
You can't because you need you need you need somebody else to be able to help you with anything. For example, to go to the kitchen, or to
Mhm.
go to the bathroom, or to go outside, whatever. for everything. And it comes a point even for eating, for drinking. Like I cannot eat by myself anymore. So yeah, it's bad, but alhamdulillah. I say I never how can I say this? I never was mad. Like some people say, oh, I'm mad at God because he made me like this. Even before I started practicing, I never had that mindset. Because I mean, he knows better. So
Yes.
alhamdulillah
Alhamdulillah.
for everything.
Alhamdulillah. So there's, in relation to this, so there's a hadith. I'm just going to pop it on the chat if you can pull it up on
I will.
the screen.
Is it under your alt account or your actual account?
Pondering Soul. What also count? Yeah, Pondering Soul. Yeah, should be the third one. That's the one.
There we
So
go.
nothing afflicts a Muslim of hardship, nor illness, nor anxiety, nor sorrow, nor harm, nor distress, not even the pricking of a thorn, but that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expiate his sins by it. That's,
Yeah, when you said expedite, I'm like, I'm going to get more sins? Okay,
sorry,
expiate. Okay.
expiate.
Alhamdulillah.
And so this is crucial because these, eventually we are all going to deteriorate. We're all going to get older. And I guess for people that aren't suffering from it now, half of the time it's just they're not really thinking too far ahead, because one day they will get old. They will,
Yes.
if they're granted a long life, they will get old. They will lose mobility. They will, become ill. They will start to suffer. As this is it's the case for every human being at some point in their life, and we need to sort of think about that, and in terms of like how most of the time, I guess people, like you say, they're just they want to have fun. They want their life to be something that's enjoyable and happy, and like like a rom-com kind of thing. And it's I guess a case of trying to empathy, like trying to put yourself in the other person's shoes and imagining, if I was in that position, what would I like? But these all require sort of dwelling on things that make people uncomfortable or take away the fun from the experience, I guess, and things like that. So I guess there might be an element of the human being that just sort of tries to avoid this kind of thing.
It's morbid. You're not gonna lie about it. I think because at least for my particular problem, it is a very small community for people with it, and the people that I have. Google, you wanna continue the conversation? Google, you wanna pick up there? I need a couple seconds.
So yeah, I mean, Albania it's even harder for persons like me because nothing is really accessible, if you can say so. I heard like my father was in London for like 2 years, and he said it was quite nice. Like for people like me, over there you had access and stuff, which you cannot really find here. And yeah.
Yeah, like so here in Canada, they have, at least in the province that I'm in, all public places have those doors with the buttons that you can push and it opens it for you. And there's ramps that you can use. And I'm like, I don't have to walk up a flight of stairs today. Alhamdulillah. Or like, I don't got to push the door because sometimes I can't grab the door to pull or push, or, things like that. And we see this hadith often, Brother Yusuf, that Allah expiates our sins.
Yeah.
And yes, we're comforted by it. But we read it so much, and people pretend like, like every sick person will get this same hadith from everyone, right? And like you gotta feign ignorant. Oh, mashallah, thank you, brother, for sending that, because that they mean well. That when people quote ayat of the Quran about being patient, and that Allah, your final destination is with Allah, and they mean well. And we're happy to hear the word of Allah. We're happy to see these ahadith over and over again. But you got to do more than just send in ahadith or send in
Yeah.
Quranic ayat. We actually need help in our day to day lives. And one of the problems that we struggle with is, and Google, I just mentioned this, as we lose our autonomy over time, we need other people to help us pick up that slack. So I could have been, 100% able when I was born, and
Yeah.
then every year it goes 99, 98, 97, 96, and that becomes the problem, right? When I need help and I can't get it, right? So what if I'm too sick, like for 2 weeks in a row, and I'm too unwell to even get up from the bed and cook something? What happens in that case? Who is going to feed me? Who's going to bring me water to drink? Who's going to take me to the shower? That kind of thing. And I feel like people forget that these kinds of things can happen. Because Google, you look well right now, alhamdulillah, right? You look
And
handsome, but I'm sure you have your difficult days as well. And you will experience people who come to you and say, well, you look well today, so obviously you weren't really sick yesterday, right? It doesn't
yeah.
work that way. It literally does not work that way. I can be okay now, and 10 minutes from now, I could be
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
extreme in pain, basically.
Yeah.
It's just the way that it works. It's the way the human body works. Um, but so this idea of being a good Muslim is just sending ahadith and Quranic ayat. It's not good enough. We need people to get involved. So how can you get involved? You know, this is the thing. We don't like being seen as people who are always in need, people who are
Yeah.
always dependent on others, because people judge you for being in need. Well, what do you mean you need a meal today? I gave you one yesterday. Hello, you need to eat every day. It happens, right? Right. Well, you helped me walk to the masjid one day, but you can't help me the next week. You can help me find someone that can help me. These are things that we need help with, right? Like a simple thing like this pandemic has made things horrible for people who are differently abled. Why? Because when they started putting limits on going into the stores, like how many people were allowed inside, and you had the lines on the outside, right? What was once I can just go into the grocery and grab something quickly off the shelves, now you're going to line up for an hour outside in the cold. No chairs, you got to stand up, and no one's coming to help you. What do you do after that? Right? So we need help. And I feel like the Muslim community is like, okay, yeah, we helped you once, we can't help you again. It doesn't work that way. We're human beings. We always need help.
So,
Always.
so in terms of like solutions to this, would the best method for us, like, be to approach you and not just to ask, can I help you with anything now, but is there anything that I can help you with long term? So, like, if this is like a constant issue for you, X, Y, Z, whether that's going to the shop or getting this or just having company, someone to sit down and have a coffee with,
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
rather than, obviously, like you mentioned the example earlier, of people going out for coffee elsewhere and things like that. But rather than that, bringing the coffee shop to your house, maybe, or obviously not literally, but like getting
Well, I'll
coffee.
be happy if it's literally. I drink enough coffee to have it, a shop. So
Is that the kind of thing that you would appreciate? People asking
yes,
you,
yes,
like, long term, not
yes.
just like
I
now
mean,
as a one-off, but
as long as they're okay with the place being messy, because half the time I can't clean. Right, I don't expect Google, right, to start like cleaning every time someone wants to come. It's simply not possible, right? So, like, if a person's coming over and they see, like, let's say the living room is a bit like cluttered, hey, can I help you? You do need help, like cleaning something up, or can I wash a plate for you or wash a cup? That would go such a long way, because that might be the only cup that we get clean for the entire week, basically. Um, it. So I'll tell you what I did, and I don't know if Google did something similar, but you have to build out a circle or a community of care around you. So for me, I use my hands, so 5 people minimum, right? I need someone who can help me get groceries, someone who can help me go to the bank. And every week they can change roles, right? Someone who can help me, get something done with my bills, someone who can help me cook, right? Different people that do different things at different times, so that I know that people will get burdened at some point as well. They will get sick too. They will have their off days. So I want them to still have their autonomy, but I build out a circle of five and I trust my life with those five people. That's what you just have to do. And then eventually you'll find out, one of the five can't do something. Alhamdulillah, whatever they've done, they've done. Alhamdulillah, I'm appreciative of it. But you always need that community of care around you. I don't know, has your experience been similar, Brother Google?
Well, yeah, perhaps I have more like my family,
Hmm.
family, and my cousins and stuff like that, uncles, stuff like that, more or less. But mainly my family.
Hmm.
Outside that, like friends and stuff like that, not really. I don't really have anymore in real life. So yeah,
Well, at least you have me online, alhamdulillah.
yeah, yeah,
Now, I moved countries, right? So I don't have like family members in my like immediate vicinity. And so I started, I think 3 or 4 years earlier, of establishing contacts with people I could trust so that when I called upon them, I could rely on them. Alhamdulillah, when I got really sick, like I don't want to go into the details in 2019, sorry, 2018 to 2019. Yeah. Yeah. Like, sorry, no, 2019 to 2020. It's been a long time. I think I was out for like 6 weeks and I had to depend on those contacts to help me get like even basic things done. And I just want to emphasize this. If you're watching this stream and you're like coming to realize certain things, you like I'm begging you, it's the month of Ramadan. Find a person. I don't care if it's an older uncle or older auntie in the neighborhood. I don't care if it's a family member, someone from the masjid, someone who is, even if they're a non-Muslim, right? Just get out there and offer help. So at least for me, one of the changing points in my life was getting a health advocate. What is a health advocate, right? They find doctors for you, they find support groups, they find pharmacists, and they build out that network that can support you when you can't do things yourself. So I'm too unwell to make the appointment. My health advocate will communicate as a middleman for me. They handle the difficult part. I can't, pick up my prescription because I'm too unwell. They'll communicate with the pharmacist. They'll get a colleague to pick it up for me and bring it to me. These are things that we literally need help with. And if our brothers and sisters in the Muslim community stepped up, right, we would have to depend less on paid services. And we can, like paying for groceries, a delivery grocery service, 25, $30 just for the action itself, and then $15 on top of that for the delivery. Every dollar spent is a dollar more that we don't have. And we have very limited funds as it is.
yeah,
My
yeah,
medication bills are insane.
yeah,
Google, I'm sure that you have like medical bills as well. They add up. And it's not like we have money that like prints out of a tray. It's very, very limited. Don't even get me started on finding a stable job when you're differently able. Employers legally, they're not allowed to like not hire you because of your disability, but
yeah,
they will look down on you and they they pretty much don't want you to be part of their company. Why? Because you're a drain on their resources. Remember, capitalism is all about making money. At the end of the day, it does not feeling good giving out money to other people, right? So there's all these considerations that we have, and emotionally, mentally, physically, it weighs on you. And especially this month of Ramadan, when everyone is going to the masjid and you're left
yeah,
out of that, and then they don't come and see you. They forget about you. You literally feel as if you're no longer part of the community. And I know that the older members in our community who used to go to the masjid and they were very active in the community life, when they transition to that, they get left behind as well. And there
yeah,
is no one who can voice their feelings for them. And you hear, you might come to pray one day and you hear X, Y, and Z member who was part of the Jamaat for 20 years recently passed away. You might not even know who that is, and you will probably not even attend his funeral. But that person likely died because they weren't getting the help that the community could have given them. Just because they're old and you think their time is up does not mean that they deserve less help. It really pisses me off, really annoy. Like, guys, I can get very, very angry about these things, right? So you want to say something here, Google?
no, no, yeah. I think
Okay.
you covered everything.
Can I
That's
ask?
my job.
So obviously, when it comes to sort of getting the help, do you think sometimes not being vocal might also, in terms of you guys when you're suffering from certain things, obviously because of feelings that you don't want to.
I yeah. That's the thing. I mean, the vocal part is kind of you try not to, how to say this. You don't want to be like a burden, or you don't want to.
Spoil the mood.
Uh, yeah. So you kind of try to avoid that. To be honest, you
Because
try to
people
go
make
the
it
flow.
awkward.
Yeah,
People make it awkward.
Sometimes, yeah,
Most of
can
the
be.
time. Most of the time.
Yeah,
Like Google, like if I could give an example here, right? Like we're part of a gaming group together, right? Yusuf is part of it sometimes because, well, he's not good at games, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and like in your particular case, right, you can't, like in Among Us, right? I was going to point something out, and I don't know if you're comfortable with me saying this. Just stop me at any
yeah.
point if you're not.
No problem.
You, when you murder someone in Among Us, you can't just run away immediately. So you actually hover around the body, and it's not intentional. So
Yeah,
so half the time when people catch you and they're like, Google, why didn't you run away? I know you want to scream out because I can't. Right? Right. Or like, I used to like playing Call of Duty, right? I'm at that age where I love playing Call of Duty, right? And I can't press the triggers on the back of the controller sometimes, right? So I can't play that game. And I'll get friends messaging me like, you want to play a game? I'm like, I can't. They're like, what do you mean you can't? Like just take your pain pills. Don't help me regain my motor functions. They just limit the amount of pain that I'm in. Why don't you just take
yeah,
the nerve pills? They reduce nerve pain. They don't stop my nerves from,
yeah,
they don't give my nerves the function to work again, right? How many times will I tell you, well, maybe you should stop drinking so much coffee and drink more water. I don't have the same energy as you. I need that cup of coffee to do like basic things. Literally, if without coffee, I don't have energy to do anything. It's really infuriating. I got to be honest with you. Um, yeah. Like I'll give an example here. When it comes to my debates, right? I can't do spontaneous debates because I have to prepare for days in advance what my medicine schedule is like, what my timing is going to be like. I've got to like reduce my physical events so that I can conserve that energy and prepare myself to sleep well. And all these things add up to me appearing on a debate stage on a particular day. So it's very difficult, for example, if someone says, let's go right now and do a debate on YouTube. I can't do that. You know, it's difficult for me. So we face challenges, unspoken challenges, and that's one of the reasons I'm not just doing this stream. But I think Yusuf, you've known that I've had issues for a long time. I don't always go into detail about them, but the reason I'm vocal about it is because of how poorly the Muslim community treats us.
Yeah, well, this problem extends beyond both of you, doesn't it? There's it's not that it's uncommon, but that doesn't mean that it's not existent. There are people that are going to be suffering from this, very likely in the community around us, and we're completely unaware of it because of the issues that you've brought up there. They fear being a burden on the society, and so they try to be less visual. Obviously, lockdowns
Made that
making
worse.
this a lot worse. So I guess this if this is really an issue, and it sounds like it definitely is, then there needs to be some sort of initiative, I guess, from Muslim communities, and it needs to be sort of grassroots, and people need to sort of take this up upon themselves to try to find out the best way, like whether or not there are people that are suffering in the areas that they can sort of assist. I guess the issue is how do you do that? So like now, for example, like what kind of approach should we take? Do we go to the mosque and put a bulletin up? Do we make posters? Do we like what? I don't know. Like what would we do?
the first step would be to identify what you as an individual think you can manage, right? So a lot of people start this, these ideas with thinking they can do everything for a person who's differently abled or who has, a chronic illness. Start off with identifying how much time and you can give to that or those individuals in the community, and not just, how much time, but what you're able to do. So if you don't have a car, it's going to be difficult for you to like do grocery runs for that person. So find out for yourself what you're capable of doing. Brother Guga is okay, inshallah. His internet went out. He'll try to rejoin as quickly as he can, inshallah. Right.
Inshallah.
So identify how much free time you have yourself to begin with, how much of that free time you can donate to help, and then from that free time, what you're capable of realistically achieving in that time. Once you've done that, it might be prudent to engage with your local masjid, the administration, and find out, can I put up a bulletin or something on the community board because I want to start a community initiative. So typically, masjids will normally be okay with this, and once they make the announcements, typically you'll get like one person coming to offer their time. You typically don't get more than that. If your community and you get more than one person willing to come forward, alhamdulillah. Do the same thing with them. How much free time do you have, and from that free time, how much time can you give? Because we don't expect that people who are perfectly like functioning and healthy, that that they're going to give all their free time. That's not reasonable, right? Then I would suggest, once you formed a little team, start reaching out. Okay, start with the elders in the community, and then start making announcements that if people are comfortable coming forward with their needs, and you can put things in place where their information is handled very carefully, right? Like if I disclose my illness to you, I don't want to find out I come to the masjid next week and the kids are giggling about it, right? You end up pushing or isolating people away at that point. So we want people to help, but you have to be very careful about what you hear and the information that we exchange with you, so that you're trusted about it. That would be the first steps, and that would be the most important steps. But because we have the COVID situation right now, I would ask if you've got family members who are ill or who are differently abled, they likely already know members in the local community that are differently abled or chronically ill, and that's a good point of contact to let you know. And perhaps it is through those points of contacts you can reach out to those in the community who do need help. That's what I would suggest. And Brother Guga is back, mashallah. Right? Well, does that answer your question, Brother Yusuf Ponders?
Yeah, there's, I guess, because what it is I think there needs to be some sort of initiative to figure out how to organize better, because it's not just this problem. There's a lot of problems. I think the Muslim community is probably, it's incumbent upon them to try to at least implement things that might resolve these, or make these issues, alleviate them at least to a minor degree if possible, and obviously if more possible to a bigger degree. But there are quite a lot of these problems. And it's trying to manage your time. And I think, especially with the modern day, one of the biggest things is that we're in the age of luxury. Like everyone's got lots of time to play games and binge Netflix and on YouTube, and they do all of these little things that really don't matter in the end. You're not getting any benefit from necessarily, no reward, and you think, not even that long ago, this wasn't the life of the average person. Like, people were working most of their life. They didn't really have much leisure time. And we've been sort of freed up with all of this extra leisure time, and we're using it for leisure instead of using it for productive means. And
sorry, my internet.
That's okay, Google. That's okay.
No, don't worry about Google. And obviously talking to you guys now is sort of making me reflect on maybe how much time I waste just doing stupid things rather than productive things. And so I guess this is a point of reflection for everyone who's watching, that doesn't suffer from chronic issues, or or that has a lot of spare time, and to really weigh it up. Like, do I really not have the time to sort of get involved in these issues, or is it simply that we favor our leisure time over?
It's the favor in the leisure time. We live in an age of hedonism. That's like clear cut, at least to me. I feel like, how to say that in the deen, you get the reward if you revive a sunnah. I want to revive the sunnah where we care about those who are differently able and chronically ill. That's what I would like to do. That's why we're raising awareness. That's why, if you watch the stream and you go out and you start an initiative in your local community, let us know. I want to know. I want to know that, doing this with Google and Brother Yusuf made a difference in some way. If you wake up tomorrow and help a neighbor walk to their car, or you get something at the grocers for them, that is such, people don't understand how much of a big help the small helps are, right? I mean, if I can put something out there, yeah. It's unfortunate that as Muslims, and I'm just going to say this, I feel as if other Muslims automatically devalue anyone who is not equally healthy or equally abled. That's just the way it seems to be in our community. To them, you're instantly a burden, and you have to try to, convince them to actually help. So people are okay helping, people are okay, contributing money to build a masjid, but they would not be okay taking care of someone who's ill, even for an hour, every couple of weeks. They just don't care. See, it's much easier to give money than it is to actually help.
Yeah,
that's just the truth. What do you have to add to this, Google?
I don't know about like much about Muslims because I don't know in real life, really. I never been to the masjid here because like I don't get help from my family for religious stuff and stuff like that. So I've been in 4 years almost, in a few months that I started practicing. I've never been to the masjid, so I don't know like how the community here is really. But I guess it'd be the same, more or less.
Yeah,
I don't see any different.
Yeah, I've been to a few countries where there are Muslim Muslim populations, and you can see, listen, it doesn't matter where I go. If I pull up rain in a chair, I'll get the exact same looks from the exact same people, the exact same time. It just does not change. And when you advocate for change in the community, people think, well, you're causing an issue by advocating for this change. Listen, at some point, someone needs to speak up. And it's better that we speak up now than you hear on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah, you could have done something and you didn't. And because you actively obstructed helping of others, you get punished for that. People don't realize that you can get punished for that. It is the duty of, it is the right of your sick Muslim brother or sister that you come and you look after them. That is your duty, mind you, right? Don't forget that.
So you've been saying this now, and it's just made me think of something. So I think one, like the major issue here is obviously ignorance of the conditions that people are going through, and how better to help them, or what it is that we can do to sort of improve that and things like that. But there's also like another sort of barrier that gets in the way here. Many people that I've spoken to have been tricked or been duped by some sort of false charity thing. So that there are a lot of these that go about where they'll say, oh, you need to help us X, Y, Z, and then not that long after you've given charity, it comes out that it was a scam, or that it was and may Allah curse the people that do these kind of things.
I mean,
because this is definitely a factor, I think, that adds to your problems. Because, for example, like I think this the extra inquisitiveness. Are you really ill? I think this is a consequence of these bad things that these people are doing when they're tricking people. Like I'm pretty sure I've been duped a few times. where someone's sort of taken advantage of empathy, taken advantage of the fact that, you know, like you're ignorant of a lot of things, and all of these thoughts pop into your head. You know, is this person trying to trick me? Will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hold this against me if I don't help them? And you know, they know that these are the kind of things that are going through your head,
Yeah.
and they take advantage of that. And it's once it's, you know, hindsight's a git in it. Like, it's only once you've sort of gone through that after the fact and your emotions have sort of calmed down, your guilt and your shame have sort of diminished, you start to see that it was a trick. And then that makes you much less trusting, and a lot more
skeptical.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Skeptical, wary. But then obviously when it comes across to these genuine cases where that, you know, that it isn't a scam, it's not a trick. Unfortunately, these feelings will still arise, and it's a consequence of the fact that you've been sort of duped before, and so you tread a bit more careful as the future goes on. Do you ever get the impression that maybe that might be why people
that contributes to it, but I wouldn't say it's the main reason that it contributes towards it. In cases where people have like doubted, like, I'm going to be honest here, right? If anyone has ever doubted me, I literally on my phone, right, I walk around with, like, I have a zip file with all my medical documents on it. And my bag is filled. I carry a bag just like filled with like the different pills I would need in case something bad happens, right? You can't fake that. You can't fake getting prescriptions like year after year after year. You can't fake scans. You can't, you know, those kinds of things. And that's why I said it's important that I think those who are chronically ill or differently abled, that you have a health advocate. And the health advocate can be the middleman, right? So if someone doubts you, get, you know, most health advocates would allow you to give out their number, their email, whatever the case may be, so they could speak up for you where you might be a little bit more uncomfortable speaking up, and they can let the person know, no, this person is actually sick, you know, this is what has happened to them, and they do need this help. And I cannot tell you, you know, how upsetting it is when I find out that people have been lying about being sick. No, that in my case, I've never come across another person in my community who pretended to be sick, like who I actually knew, because everyone who is differently able to chronically ill, we just happen to know each other because we have the same shared burdens, right? So like I said, the easiest thing to do is find that point of contact in the community who you 100% know is unwell. And then they will be able to tell you, yes, the neighbor who lives 2 houses down, you know, apartment 1B, they have such and such an illness. They've allowed me to disclose this, and they definitely need your help. So that's why I say having a point of contact in the community is essential for things like that. And your family members, you know, they're going to know people like that, and they will be able to help. So education, community work are two very important things in this regard. What do you say about this, Google?
Yeah.
You can't copy my answer, Google. You got to add to it. Come on now.
I don't really have experience with it, so I cannot add much to it.
Has anyone ever like met you, Google, and doubted that you were as sick as you are?
Well, I technically cannot do that for me. It would be stupid of them to do that. Well, you stupid. Are you sure you cannot do anything? So yeah, it would be very stupid.
Yeah,
I'll be concerned for them instead of
them as well. Yeah, and you know, there is you know, people take advantage of our vulnerability as well, where they offer to go out and get help for us, and then they might collect money or a donation or something, and then they just take off with it.
May Allah curse them.
I mean, people don't realize that we're fighting battles every day, and every additional battle that we have to fight makes things significantly worse. So this is why I think that, you know, masjid administrations need to have some kind of system in place to help those who are chronically ill and differently abled. And speaking to that, there is a question on the screen from Tamimi, a long-time subscriber, mashallah. The question is, what is the right phrase to use? Special need, disability, what do you think? I think it's based on the person. So you ask the person that question because you want to let them know, I want to be sensitive to yours. For me, I don't care what someone uses, right? As long as it's not a slur, I'm okay with it. What about you,
Yeah.
Google? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, special need seems like weird as an word, I
Uh-huh.
think. But I don't really mind whatever people use.
As long
I'm
as they
okay.
use it respectfully.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's the important thing because we are still human. People dehumanize us, guys. We're still humans at the end of the day, right? Like this is a. I'm gonna expose something about the Dawa world now. Okay, I'm gonna expose something about the Dawa world. When I do back-to-back streams on certain channels, I'll have the brothers
Oh boy.
upset with me. They'll be upset with me because they know if I go 4 hours sitting in a chair by myself and then do another 4 hours, my day ain't gonna end well, right? And they're gonna be like, Ijaz, you gotta take a break now. It's been 15 minutes. Get up, like go do something, then come back. They have to force me, right? So that's the kind of love that I appreciate because they know, they understand, and they know, they've been with me for a very long time, so they understand my needs in that case. And so I'm not saying I'm being babied because I hate when people use that word, but sometimes we try to exercise our self autonomy, but we know it's not right for us. Like I know that some people stop taking their medication, for example. And this is
Yeah.
another sensitive point. Why do chronically ill, differently abled people stop using their medication? It is because your personality changes when you're on medication and you feel less like you and more like an other you. And it's weird to explain that to people, right? So I don't take my painkillers half the time because I want to remind myself this is who I am. Because when I take my painkillers, I become a legitimate different person. Your very self differs with you. You want to remind yourself you still exist. That might seem weird to people, but when you have, this, then on top of this, then on top of this one, on top of this, on top of this, it carries you places that you forget who you are and you like to remind yourself who you are. And people forget that, right? For me, like what I like to do is I like to so right next to my computer desk, I've got like the last 3 months of all the pill bottles I would have had to use. I keep it there to remind myself every time I took a dose, I got better. I was able to become better. It helped me get by. So I have it there. There are some people who wonder, well, why do you keep the pills? Why do you keep the pill boxes? It reminds me that I took it when, sometimes I had doubts that I didn't want to take it. And I just wanted the pain to experience the pain again, to remind myself that you're still you. These are things that you have these internal battles that people don't recognize. Recently a popular Muslim da'i, was on painkillers and said something he shouldn't have said, and people didn't excuse him. But I know what it's like to be on painkillers that change your personality. I know what that's like. So we have to literally try to be more sensitive and open to hearing what people have to say for themselves when they're in this situation. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
just the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a bit of
Ijaz
empathy
and
and
Yusuf have the same color clothes. Yes, we do. Blue is the color, football is the game. Chelsea, 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 Chelsea. Our name. Yeah, continue, brother Yusuf.
yeah, it's just a lot of this is just sort of inculcating patience, like doubting yourself in terms of when you're approaching these people. Are you doing it in the best way? And then trying to combat this ignorance. So I think this may be the beginning of something good. Like inshallah, I think sort of even producing sort of booklets or I don't know, even like, have you ever thought about writing a book? Either of you? about your experiences?
I had a blog about it because my illness is pretty not unique. Let me be clear here. Very few people have it. So when I'm the kind of person where if I don't understand something, I'll read and look up everything about that thing. It doesn't care how long it takes me. So that's what I did, and I compiled a website with videos of the surgeries, latest medical journal papers relating to the illnesses rather, group support, like links, that kind of thing. And I did that early on, because I realized when I was searching for these things, I couldn't find them myself. And I'm like, if I couldn't find it, what about the other people? And what bothered me was, I think around that same time, the only other person in the world I knew with the similar issue that I had, he was highlighted on Al Jazeera Plus. He had left the dean, tried to kill himself 2 or 3 times, failed each time. Um, Came back to the dean, left it again, and then he just like started taking drugs because he wanted to numb his very existence. And I said, okay, I have two paths. I could either adopt that or I could not adopt that. And what's better for me is to not adopt that. So when I saw that he had a lack of support around him, that's when I started looking up, okay, how do people who have this illness support themselves? How do they move forward? How do they cope with the circumstances that they find themselves in? And that's what led to the creation of that website with those links and those videos. I had to take it down, by the way, because the missionaries, Hassamo Shamoun and his people, found it, and they created a blog about me. So I'd rather not go into detail about that. So if you guys wonder why I'm harsh with them, those particular group of people, it's because for years they had been doing these kinds of things to me, and I can't be very open now about what these circumstances are because of how filthy that they've been towards me, right?
Yeah.
So you
That's
people
very
know
low.
who you are. Yeah, no, but they
Yeah.
don't find it low. They find that it gives glory to Jesus Christ or something, right? More recently, I had a Christian missionary from Speaker's Corner comment on one of my TikToks and started to make fun of me regarding my illness. I just blocked them, right? Because if I had to say to them what I actually meant, right, there'll be another video of me online saying mean things to someone else. So, alhamdulillah, circumstances change and it is what it is. But yeah, at least in my feeling apologetics, it's difficult for me to be very open with this because I have people out there who definitely think I'm Satan and they want to do everything possible to hurt me. So me doing this stream right now is a stream that they can use against me, right? A stream that they
Yeah.
will try to take advantage of. They will
May
mock
Allah
me. They
protect
will
you from
attack
their
me.
mischief.
Well, Hassan Mushimun, the pedophile, please stop harassing me regarding my illness. I would appreciate that. Thank you. Right? Yeah, the wife beat. Yeah, I have no problem saying it because you people have no idea the kinds of things that they say. The kinds of things that they say. I'll spit facts in the meantime. Yeah, people don't realize that this is very difficult. And we're in the month of Ramadan, so I'm begging you, I am begging you, try to help those who are in need in your community because they may not be able to voice it for themselves. But if I can be your Google or brother Yusuf can be a voice for these kinds of people, for our kind of people, for our brothers and sisters, that would mean the world to me. Right? Slip them a $10, slip them a $20 bill when you shake their hand. Just do anything that's nice for them. Because trust me, when you live in this mindset that you're differently abled every day, each day long, and you don't have job up. By the way, having a lack of job opportunities means having a lack of a livelihood. So everything is more expensive for that individual, right? Forget that they have to buy special cups to drink from, special knives to use, special scissors, special cleaning products, special, mobility devices. Everything has a cost to it. It's not cheap, right? It's definitely not cheap. This is what people forget as well. Help them financially as best as you can, inshallah.
If someone did just come up to you and sort of just shook your hand and put 20 quid into your hand,
I'd be happy.
I was going to say, would you find that awkward, or would that be something you would appreciate, or like how
I would appreciate. it. I would appreciate it. Normally I would suggest you ask, right? But just have the intention to give, because every $5, five or 10 or 20, that helps. That goes a long way. You don't know how far it goes.
Yeah,
Because
one of the issues is obviously if you're having to pay for your medication and things like that, then like, for someone who doesn't have to buy medication, that's not an expense that they have to worry about. Whereas
But
if this,
medication is not the only thing. Remember, you have to buy special mobility devices. You have to buy things which last longer because you're not able to take equally as care of them. Right. So I'll give an example. Right. A person who has difficulty using their hands, they have to buy specialty utensils to be able to eat with, specialty mobility devices, specialty cleaning devices. And those things are not cheap. Usually they run in the hundreds of dollars half the time. People like forget that. So even though they may not have to pay for medication, medication is just one slice of the pie. There are so many things that they need for their day-to-day life that you will not think of that they do need, like specialist shoes or specialist slippers that has memory foam so that when they stand up their joints don't hurt. Or when they have to use a smartphone device, they need a certain smartphone device holder that can hold up the phone for them so that they can even communicate. Or a charger that has a magnetic plug so they can just drop it and it connects, right? They can't like hold the charger to plug it in. All these small things people forget, differently abled people need. Is that not the case? Like Google, in your situation, would you be able to use most of the devices in and around your home without help?
No, no, no.
So everything has a cost to it then for you to be able to use it.
Of, I think for me it's different because I cannot buy something that I can use, except depending. Like for my phone, Alhamdulillah, I found an app. So basically, I control it with my face.
Mhm,
I just move my head, and it has a mouse. And when I
mhm.
stop over something, it passes that himself. But for other things, I can use the laptop, the computer myself with a touchpad, not with
Okay.
a normal mouse. So for those things, you don't really have to spend anything. But I guess for there are different people and
Yes,
different
yes,
disabilities. So
yeah.
yeah, I can see that being
A
a
problem.
case. Yeah,
Yes.
depends on the person also. I'm kind of person I don't like people giving me just for no reason, to be honest. I kind of
But
don't like that.
if you
what
had a
about as an
need,
e present?
Person is different. It's not the same thing.
like, let me ask you a question, Google. Are you able to have a stable job because of your different ability?
Oof. Now, stable job. I'm working with a brother from Pakistan. I kind of did for him. Alhamdulillah. I don't get like even a minimum what we get in Albania, but I spend like my time I like doing it and stuff like that.
Mhm,
I've been working with translating for Yevdawa.
mhm.
Alhamdulillah. So yeah, more for fun right now, not something stable.
It's difficult to have stability in this case, right? Because
Yeah,
not your abilities have to match up to what the job requires, and it's very difficult to find a specific job that is one open and two
yeah,
paying enough to be able to help. So yeah, I would advise that you speak with the person and ask how you can help them. That's essential,
yeah,
very essential. But everything does have an added cost to it when you are differently abled, right? So like, some people may not be able to use a certain mouse. Some people might need a certain device to help them do things. um, you know Ask, find out what do they need and offer to help them.
All
That
right.
would be
It
nice.
depends also the economical like status like mainly from my case, my parents, what they earn and stuff like that. Which alhamdulillah, we're not like rich, but we're not poor also. We're like
Alhamdulillah.
in the middle, alhamdulillah. So I don't. If I need anything, I can ask them. But the only thing I built myself with my money that I earned was the computer I have
Alhamdulillah.
now. It's kind of, yeah, it's kind of
Satisfying.
proud. Yes, it's
Yes.
kind of, yeah, that's the word. When you do it, so alhamdulillah. I had a lot of help also from brother Anis and doing the stuff up and down, like ordering and
Yes.
helping me to buy it. But alhamdulillah,
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So
it's a bit
If I
different.
if I could just say something briefly before Brother Yusuf, EF
yeah, go
Tower
ahead.
does help brothers who are differently abled or who are chronically ill quite a lot.
May
It's
Allah
one
bless.
of the reasons I'm proud to work with EF Tower, one of the reasons I'm proud to know the brothers there. And I think it's largely because you have some very sincere brothers in that group, and Dr. Imran, who is very familiar with people's difficulties as a medical
Yeah,
doctor, he's able to like understand and explain. Whereas, some people may not have that possibility. If you don't have a medical doctor around you, it's difficult to ask them, okay, what's the case here? What can we do for this person?
yeah. With the COVID situation right now, because I'm a bit worried, I have messaged Dr. Iman a couple of times, and I always say like, I'm sorry for bothering you, but it's kind of I had to ask because I'm afraid like probably
He's
forget it. I'm done. Yeah, it's busy also, but even COVID, I'm afraid a bit, depending how bad it would be for me.
Mhm.
It could be like my end.
Yep.
So yeah,
High
So
risk.
I
can I
had.
ask both of you? So is there anything? And if you'd rather me ask you this privately, just feel free to just say make it private. But so is there anything that you guys need now that maybe we could help you with as a community? Like if I was to try to, and like I don't want to make you feel awkward or anything. So if it is better to ask privately, then
Uh, from myself, I think only what I've told you kind of. I would like to find someone who could teach me, the dean, for example, because I have a problem. I've not been to school because being that's not a thing really for people like me. I don't think there is even a school for that. Maybe nowadays, but back then, when I was born, it wasn't really. So I have not developed a way of knowing how to learn or whatever. Like whatever I know, I've picked it randomly by watching stuff, and so when it comes to Islam, it's a bit hard to learn by yourself. I think because you don't know how to do it, what to do, what to search for, and stuff like that. That's a struggle for me, to be honest. On top of that, I cannot go to the mosque, so I cannot find a local person to help me. And the first year, especially, was very difficult for me because when I took my shahada, uh, I started having really like whispers for almost 1 year on different stuff about Islam, like from Muhammad to Aisha and the different topics
yeah,
that I heard. And it was really bad not having someone to teach you about those things. But alhamdulillah, after Ramadan started, it was like magic. The very first day, it was gone. That I could control my thoughts. And that's a personal thing that kind of convinces me because we have like the devil is chained during
yeah,
Ramadan, and that was kind of uh, subjective
yeah, yeah.
proof, yeah,
I think
not
the
objective.
subjective proofs are really good for you. So
Yeah, for you, yeah.
people try to dismiss these and say, "Oh, that's not a reason to believe." Blah 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 blah. Blah. But it really is, and half of the time, this is what atheists ask for. They want like their own subjective experience so that they can believe. And obviously, it's not good as a way to try to convince other people. But it's definitely fuel
Stuff, yeah.
for your own iman.
Well, I mean, for an atheistic perspective, I have no reason to live, to be honest. I could just kill myself and it's done. Like I don't have to go through life. He just doesn't have to go through like the pain he feels like almost every day because I don't know like how often he feels that. So we have no reason really. Why should we believe like we can end it? But that's not a reason like to believe in God. But that's kind of like for atheists to think about that.
Yeah.
But that's the problem with me and atheism, right? If Google and I don't have a reason to exist,
Yeah.
then and we are drain on the economic resources of the society, then that's not good for either of us, right?
Well, this is the kind of mentality that Hitler ended up having, isn't it? He
Eugenics,
saw
yeah.
people that were suffering from disabilities
Yes.
as a drain, and he
It's strange that you mentioned that. Do you know what it is?
no.
Today's Hitler's 131st birthday, where he was born April the 20th, 1889, at Braunau am Inn in Austria.
How on earth did you know that particular?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love World War
That's
II
right.
stuff. I'm addicted to World War II stuff. So,
Subhanallah.
he dies 10 days later. So in 10 days, you'll see me again mentioning he died on this day. So there you go.
But it's interesting you mentioned that. So with regards to helping you with the dean, but I can help you with that. So
Sure.
I'll talk to you after this, and we'll arrange something. But so with gaming and things like that, is there any sort of device that's available that you know of that might help you sort of widen your?
I think there is, but even if there is, it will be pretty expensive. So no worries about that. I don't really care about that right now. Alhamdulillah, I've been playing like Among Us. We've been playing Risk.
Yeah.
Inshallah, we can play Monopoly and stuff like that. I have found few games over the past days. So no problem for that.
Yeah, but in terms of, say, if it was a possibility, like, say, I'll talk to you after about it, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll
It's
discuss
good
that.
that you're asking these kinds of questions, because I feel like we don't get the opportunity to give answers like this in a setting that is this public usually. Like, I'm pretty sure people are aware that Google Byte, that we interact with Brother Google Byte, but this is probably the first time that they're seeing and hearing from him directly, right? So I think I've known Google Byte for a year and a half, maybe 2 years now, roughly.
well,
Am I
depending.
overestimating the
What
time that I've known you?
depending. What do you mean by knowing? Like first
Like
time
we were in contact with each other for some time.
yeah, 2 years. I think
Okay.
I messaged you on Facebook for the first time. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
but like
yeah.
we're talking and we know each other like a few months. Like when I made the server.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Did you turn
it's
off your lights,
fine.
Yusuf?
Yeah, it's giving me a headache. It's a bit too
Oh,
bright.
okay. I'm like, why did Yusuf all of a sudden look darker than I thought he was looking? Confused me. Right.
So, is there anything else that you guys can think of?
When there is a need, we will have the ability to make it public, right? Like, I don't hide when, there is something that I need. Like, I let people know. So, inshallah in the future. But I think right now, alhamdulillah, stable. I'm fine. I'm good as it is, alhamdulillah. And like, if you see me go missing for a few weeks in streams, now you know why. Right? It's not because I'm taking a vacation to the Bahamas or something,
Yeah.
right? Which, by the way, you don't want to visit the Bahamas. It's Tobago you want to go to. But that's the point, right? This is all about raising awareness. And the reason, again, that I'm doing this during the month of Ramadan is because people in our local communities are not taken care of. They're just not. And that upsets me.
So, just as like a particular thing, if there is anything I can ever help either of you with, I don't feel shy enough to like not send me a message or to ask me. And
I understand. I appreciate it.
And even if it's just as maybe even being like a middleman between, say, yourselves and the community, because like I say, these things are always they can be very awkward for people. and so like I don't know, whatever it is that I can do to sort of maybe make that less awkward. If Allah permits,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'll
I
try.
mean, people like you who are aware of the difficulty that the differently abled slash chronically ill community has, we appreciate like calm voices like yours who ask reasonable questions and they're willing to offer help. That is what we need, help, and it's really what's the word here. It's really comforting to know that there are people not just offering the help, but that they're willing to walk the extra step and actually put actions to their words. It's like really meaningful, and I appreciate it, brother Yusuf. May Allah reward you. I mean, this has
Forgive
nothing
me
to
if
do with me knowing your actual identities and where you live. And no, okay, all right, fine.
forgive me if I've said anything out of place or
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
like I
no,
say,
no, no.
it can be especially having not really have anyone in the family or close by that sort of has to suffer from these problems. This is a very sort of unique insight for me
Yeah.
that I've not really had
It,
access to before. So jazakallah khair to both of you for
Well,
giving me that.
I mean, do you want to take some? Should we take some questions from the audience, Google? Yusuf, would you
yeah.
be okay with that? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
All right, so guys, we will take. Who is the brother at the
Oh,
I
you
just
broke up
muted
there, brother.
myself. I just muted myself. All right,
I thought my internet went out when
all
that
right.
happened.
Someone's asking who's the brother at the bottom. This is brother Gigabyte. Let me just, if I do this one again, you can see his name. Let me see. There is his name, Real Gigabyte, and you can find him on Twitter, inshallah. And you can
And
follow him.
YouTube. He's
And
got a
YouTube
YouTube channel now,
by the same name.
mashallah. And he
Yeah,
needs to
man.
start producing more content on there as well.
Yes, sir. Although I wanted to make about trying to like learn how to read Arabic to teach the letters, but I have for the past days been unwell. I have some tooth pain, so I could not do it right now. But inshallah, I'll be back.
Funnily enough, so I've just started learning Qaida, and there's the brother that's helping. He's the same teacher that helps brother Hamza Maya,
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
and he only asked me the other day if there's anyone else that needs help learning. So if you like, I can ask him, and he can help.
Inshallah.
And
I know
like
how to read Arabic.
say again.
I know the letters. I know the letters.
It's not just
I
that,
know
so
how
he can
to
learn.
read.
Oh,
Oh.
okay, mashallah.
I know, yeah. I
You're
learned that
beating
by
me then.
myself.
You can start teaching
Yeah.
me.
I found a series in Albanian where they explain the letters one by one, and alhamdulillah, I know how to read, or at
Oh,
least
mashallah.
95%, if not 100%.
So can you read the Quran in Arabic?
Yeah.
Like without interruption, just so even though you don't understand the words.
Yes.
Oh, mashallah.
Well, tajweed no. That's a different topic. For
Tajweed. Oh well,
Yeah.
so he can help you with the tajweed because this
Yeah,
is what
sure.
this ends up going into. So there's another book. There's this one, the Qaida, and then there is this one. Which is the rules of
If
tajweed,
you, yeah,
and it goes into all of the specific rules and that.
Inshallah.
yeah.
But I think he can help you with that as well. So if you want to learn like proper tajweed, inshallah, he can help. But,
Inshallah.
sorry, Google, what's your YouTube channel called again, so I can put it in the link?
Yeah, Google it, but if you go like on Twitter, you will find a link on Twitter.
Yeah, because
At Real Google Byte. I cannot make a username yet on YouTube. I need
you need so many subscribers.
21, I think. More? No, 31.
Subs. 31 more subs.
Inshallah, there's how many people are watching this? We'll see if we can get you that. No.
Guys, there are more than 130 of you, so it's time to head on over to Gigabyte's channel and give him those 31 subs, inshallah.
So he can pick his proper name.
Come on, if that's the one thing that we can do today, let's get that done, inshallah.
Right, so you're on 72 subscribers at the moment. This is the...
What? 72? I was 69 a few hours ago.
There you go.
checking
I'm there.
Google Byte right now. Okay, let's see if we can get this done, inshallah. I like how it corrected for gigabyte. Yes, not the same
Yeah,
thing.
Pin
Okay,
it.
let's see.
Why am I not a mod, by the way, Trini? What's going on?
How do I make you a mod? I leave what's his name, Mukid, to make the mods, right? Because he's the mod father, right? That's his job.
Oh yeah.
Did you post a link in the chat? I'll just go to the. I'll just let me
Bro.
just.
Yeah, I
Let
did.
me just
He-
switch to.
Balmukit is everywhere.
He is, isn't he?
In every stream, yeah. On
I don't know how he
Yusuf,
does it. There'll be 10 streams and he'll be on all of them.
One sec, Yusuf,
Oh,
can
yeah,
you
that's
repost it a second time? I'll just make you a mod in the. Just post something in the chat.
There'll be 10 streams and he'll be on all of them.
Oh my goodness! I'm watching it on YouTube on the phone. Watching it here again. Can you just comment in the chat, Yusuf, so I can make you a
Yeah, I did. So I'm like the third one. There we go.
I think I have blocked you. I don't see you on the chat.
Just comment like your name or something, Yusuf, so I can make you a mod first, and then the link will pop up.
Oh, is it because have you blocked links? Is
Yeah.
that why?
I'm not sure. I don't
Yeah,
do
no,
this kind of stuff.
because I have the same. Because people end up posting all sorts of crap, and
Done.
especially in
You're a
the
mod now,
comments.
mashallah. You're a mod
Yeah,
now.
Yusuf,
There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah, in the
Yeah,
comments,
Yusuf.
you get all of these bots that comment
Yeah,
these
yeah,
little
yeah.
short links that take you to filth and crap. There we go. Now I can post links because I'm mod man.
Mashallah. There you go. So, guys, I want to see the number on Google's channel rising minute by minute. If it's not, I'm going to be disappointed with all of you.
Yeah. Have a look for more questions as well while we wait. I'll give you a live update. We're on 79, 83. Oh, mashallah.
Ooh, we're going to hit it soon, inshallah.
89,
We better do.
89, 90,
91,
91.
92,
Mashallah. I've got a few different accounts.
95. Guys, we're going to hit it, inshallah.
Nice.
Come on. Just need 5 more of you. Can we get it to 105? Because I know some of you might. I know how well some of you are. 99, 102. Allahu Akbar.
Mashallah.
There you go, brother Guga. Mashallah.
It's all right.
Now we just need you to. This is my suggestion with the risk. You need to do it without fog of war on.
No.
You do because
Why?
it makes good streams for his channel. If you've got the fog of war on.
Yes, everyone can see everyone else.
Yeah.
Well, right now it's more like the funny bits rather than the game itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think you chose the 2 matches where I won, so I congratulate you on your excellent choice.
Every time I've nearly won, but believe me.
This
is why I don't play no more.
I've never played Risk with you, Yusuf. Never.
What are you on about? I have absolutely leathered you several times, and then the
Can
game
you agree
crashed.
with me that Yusuf has never played with us? Can you agree with me, Yusuf has never played with us?
You can't lie, bro.
Nah.
So let's see what questions there are in the chat, inshallah. And Google is now up to 100. And guys, push it to 110 if you can, right? If you can give extra love during the month of Ramadan, then let's do that, inshallah. Okay, questions. I want to take questions on the differently able to chronically ill. What questions do you as a Muslim community have, inshallah? Okay, Sister Razina says, wonderful stream, mashallah. We need more open conversations such as this, narratives that push understanding, empathy, and inclusion. I mean, I completely agree, sister. Brother Ahmad, who plays Among Us with us every week, says that Yusuf has never played Risk, and I affirm that.
Why would you?
All I remember is every time that we play with Hamza and Yusuf, that Hamza will be worried, is Yusuf on the match now? That's like the one thing he would say.
I thought I'd never played you, bro. I thought I'd never.
You played Hamza. I didn't say you played me. I said you played Hamza.
No. You said every time we play Hamza.
I used the word we. I meant that as no real we.
All right. Okay.
Royal way, yeah.
Right, someone is asking. Someone says that they need a notification bell on Google's channel. Okay. Well, we've just let Google know, and inshallah he can sort that out. Okay.
There's a notification bell on the channel.
Is there? Okay, I guess there is.
I've turned on.
Okay, I like how this person's channel's name went from Cure for Islamophobia is asking when it was previously Cure for Islamophobia is Fareed response. So has Fareed fallen out of favor? I don't know. Subhanallah.
Boom.
Okay. Imad, I don't know who this is, by the way, says, upload my risk win, 10,000 views guaranteed. Subhanallah. Okay, guys, ask your questions. Like, we want to be open with you, and I know it's pretty late for brother Yusuf. We'll go 10, 15 more minutes if he
It's
can
even
spare
later
it.
for
Bye,
brother
Yusuf.
Guga.
Say
Bye,
that again.
Yusuf.
Say that again, Yusuf. I didn't hear
It's
you.
even
I
later
didn't
for
miss.
brother Guga. He's
Yeah, it is. He's all the way in Albania, which, as I learned very recently, was north of Greece. So, all right, guys, in the chat, come on, ask your questions, inshallah. People are saying nice things about brother Guga. Alhamdulillah.
what time is it where you are now, Guga?
12, 15.
Yeah, you're an hour ahead of me, aren't you?
SubhanAllah. Okay, wow. It is 6:16 p.m. where I am at East Coast time, I suppose.
Nobody
Right,
else.
Sister Rashida says, speaking up for others is tiring and not much appreciated, but imagine already having many struggles and having to do so. So please don't give up on them when it gets tough because they cannot do it alone. I think that's some beautiful advice, mashallah. Brothers and sisters, if you have questions, now is the time to ask. If you're concerned about, someone in your own community that you would like to help, let us know. We want to be advocates for our own people as well.
Yinka wants to grab your nose.
That's a really bad meme from TikTok. Some I like all these like Catholic kids started saying, "Oh, no, to grab my nose" as a meme, and it accidentally took off. So now that's all anyone comments on my videos on TikTok now. When can we grab your nose, Ijaz?
I don't even get it. No way.
All right. So Google Boit. So they've do you know the French accent? Rather than Google Bite, it's Google Boit. When is the second chess tournament? I guess soon, Google,
Inshallah,
inshallah. So-
after Ramadan. Inshallah.
Okay, well, okay, we've got a tendentious comment here. I want to suicide, too many pressure, too many issues, no kidding. I am in a closed loop of sin and etc. To this person, I can't exactly read your name. I'm actually not sure to say your name, but let me just say this: suicide is not the option right now. If you need help,
Yeah.
you can reach out to us and we will help you. If you
Inshallah.
need immediate help, we can help you. Please do not go down that option. It might seem like life has hit a wall and you can't proceed forward, but I'm guaranteeing you, if people like Guga and myself can dig ourselves out of pure pain and suffering, you can do the same, and we can get you the community that you need for that help. So please reach out if you want, and inshallah we can help you. But whatever you do, do not commit suicide.
Yeah, and this is also important to remember as well that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful. And people, I've heard this sort of expressed multiple times
honest.
from many people. Oh, mashallah. Is it we're being joined in the chat by Wa alaikum salam. But yeah, so people have expressed to me several times that they feel that they're not worthy of forgiveness, that they've committed X amount of sins, and they can't really comprehend why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would forgive them. But Allah is the most merciful. He can forgive you even if your sins weighed more than the earth. He can forgive you for it. And all that's required of this is that you turn to him sincerely with repentance. And if you sound like obviously these things are still bothering you. The biggest problem is when they're not, when you're sinning and it doesn't affect you. That's the scary thing, because you're just digging a hole that you can't get yourself out of. But insofar as you're sinning, but you recognize that it's a bad thing and it causes you shame or guilt, these are this is the fuel for something transformative. Like, especially if you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at night when you're on your own and you sincerely ask, especially during the month of Ramadan, this is it's a blessed month. And if you turn to Allah and you ask for the strength and you ask for the guidance and you ask for forgiveness, Allah, He's perfectly capable of giving it to you. And it all it takes is for you to turn to him and to hate the things that you're doing. And for me personally, this is one of the biggest sort of things that sort of helped me to give up, especially during the point of reversion. You come into Islam with all these bad habits, and obviously Allah forgives all of the sins prior to your shahada, But that doesn't mean that the bad habits go with them.
Yeah.
And this sort of crosses over into life as a Muslim, and you've got to deal with that. But it was, for me personally, allowing myself to hate these things. It was one of the key things that sort of led me to giving them up. There's still little bits here and there that I really need to work on.
Of course.
I'm by no means a saint, and may Allah forgive us all. But
Amen.
yeah, that was it. So, like, for example, with the smoking, I let myself be hyper conscious of the minor things that I used to overlook while being a smoker. So the smell, I would let myself really smell it and let myself hate the smell. The taste, noticing the yellowing on your fingers, all of these things, and the yellowing of the house or the rooms that you're smoking in and things like that, and not just letting them sort of drift off into the peripheral, but really focusing on them and saying, I hate this, I don't want this, this is like, I need it out of my life. From that point on, it's you're only going to be able to move in the right direction at that point.
Yes.
But you've got to be patient with yourself as well. You have to allow yourself to go through that slight bit of suffering, because the guilt and the shame does cause a lot of suffering in and of itself. But that's a good sign. That's a sign of faith. That's a sign of Iman. And you've got to allow that to soften your heart and humble you rather than to make you bitter. Because you can go one of two ways. You can go down the path of the murtad, where you hate the fact that you've been made to feel guilty or shameful because of the things that you're doing, and it turns your heart to stone. Like you become shameless, and you're like, why should I have to feel bad about this and that and blah 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 blah, and you move towards the path of disbelief. Or you allow it to transform you. You allow it to better you as a person. You're only going to be in a better position if you can give these bad things up. They can be detrimental to your life. They take up time. They take up energy that could be otherwise spent on much better things. We've been talking today about something really important, and I'm probably not going to be that wrong in saying that a lot of people are wasting their time with sins where they could be doing things like helping brothers that are suffering from chronic illnesses, whether the elderly, or widows, or orphans, or the homeless, or any of these things. There's a lot of stuff. The Uyghurs. There's a lot of things that really need a lot of effort and energy. And I can't help but feel like one of the major things that's sort of preventing us from doing any of this is because we're wasting time on useless crap. And may that be a motivation for us, especially now in the month of Ramadan.
So I think the person's name was Master, if I'm not mistaken. If that is your name, I just have one thing to say. Sheikh Faraz Rabbani has actually a beautiful teaching, which is a sign that someone is repentant is that they let the sin bother them. If the sin was not bothering you to begin with, then you would not be in a state of repentance. So accept this as a mercy from Allah, that that you're not happy in doing the sin, you're not happy to remember the sin, and you seem to be acknowledging for yourself that you hate the sin that is part of your past. But Allah says in the Quran that you should never lose hope in Him. Never lose hope in Him. Every surah except for one begins with the basmala, and that reminds you of Allah's mercy. And in the one surah that it does not begin with the basmala, which is Surah Al-Tawbah, Surah 9, but in the first 10 ayat, Allah mentions that He is the one who is most loving. So take this advice as sincere advice that you are not alone, your Lord is with you, and that your Lord has put you with a community that can help you. So I've put the email that you've asked for. Inshallah, you reach out. And whatever your circumstances are, we will try our best to help you, inshallah. Another one person in the chat mentioned, would love to hear a mention of the carers or quad, but we would still like to be appreciated. Could I just make a small point on this? I have so much respect for the people that care for those who are differently abled, sick, or elderly, because you could be living your life as a heedless individual, doing whatever you want for your own pleasure, however you want. But to give up your free time, to give up your career so that you can care for someone else who needs it, is a duty in the service of Allah. And we actually call this khidmah, or service in helping the community or helping others for the pleasure of Allah. This is one of our sacred duties in Islam. So if you're a carer and you're at home and you're watching this, may Allah reward you abundantly. Ameen. Because I know you don't get to go out and have the fun that you want to have. I know that you don't have the funds to be able to, have fancy dinners. And you look at your peers and you wonder, what have I given up all this for? But I want you to remember those people out there having fun cannot make up for the life that you are helping preserve at home. And you don't know how, even if that person may be irritable and complacent, right? Trust me, pain and illness changes you. That person at the end of the day cannot survive without you. Every life is sacred in Islam, and you will be abundantly rewarded on the day of Yom Qiyamah for the
Allah
sake
make it a means of paradise for them.
Ameen. Ameen. Let's continue, inshallah. Let's see here. What are some of the best ways to support their carers, except example, parents, family members, without being intrusive, nosy? Offer to volunteer on their behalf for them. Let them get a day of rest because they taking up the burden of having to do extra cleaning, extra cooking, extra washing can over time, lead towards compassion burnout. So if you can
Yeah.
take of the intention of doing something nice for that person, have a special day out with them, bring them a beautiful meal, give them a gift, just try to make their life easier, help them distribute the level of responsibility that they have. This is something that they often want to request, but they don't want to feel as if they're passing the buck because it's not really something that you want to pass off to others. That would be my perspective. Brother Guga, Yusuf,
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. um okay. um how do you feel, brothers, when people tell you to have patience and forbearance in coping with your situations? For me, it's a nice sentiment, but what do you think I've been doing all this time? That I haven't been patient. Sometimes I know it comes from a good place, so I respond with kindness. But
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that a person is trying, then you know that they're already patient, right? Just
Yeah. Yeah.
uh do you agree with that, Google? Do you disagree?
Yeah. Same. Same thing. I understand where you're coming from, but yeah, that's
Can
what
I,
we try to do.
can I ask? Would you rather them not say it to you, or do you appreciate the reminder? Because again, this is the case with everyone. Like we become forgetful sometimes, or we become wrapped up, and
I think it
sometimes
depends. Yeah, I think it depends from person to person, and the reason, kind of, why you're saying that is that because, for me at least, it's because you care, or you just say it because
It's
to
what you were
seem.
taught to
Yeah,
say.
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't like people being fake very much, or not fake. Fake is a bad word. Like, I had a word in mind.
Robotic.
Potential. Okay, robotic.
Yeah, like just
Yeah,
reactionary rather than
yeah, yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
responding meaningfully.
yeah,
Yeah, so I think that's a good answer to the question. Do you guys think that mosques do enough for mental health? Definitely not, no. And if
no,
I
no.
think someone is possessed, okay, so, how do you determine if it's a mental health issue if they're actually possessed? So I would actually speak, so personally, this is not a matter for any of us to give opinion on in terms of
Yeah, yeah,
authority. But what I would suggest is that there are a lot of Muslim professionals who are psychologists, and they're social care workers, and they're generally pious. They can put you in contact with mental care workers from the Muslim community who might be more sensitive to these kinds of things, and that would be the
yeah,
best way to go. Because if you once you say jinn possession to a non-Muslim doctor, they're gonna assume that you're crazy. Like, I don't mean to
yeah,
use
yeah,
the
yeah,
C word, but that's the perception that you have to deal with. So I would suggest, you reach out to people who are Muslim professionals, practicing Muslim professionals in the
yeah.
healthcare community.
You need to make sure about that, especially in Albania. The many fake people call themselves even imam, but they are to take money and stuff like that. They're not even Muslims, to be
Well,
honest. They are pretending. Yeah, it's like Iman is kind of a title more than not a title because it's like like the soothsayers. Some of them, they call themselves Iman here in Albania and stuff like that. So you need to be careful to who you go to be honest.
In my experience, I think that imams. When I was in, let me see this, university, I actually attended a training course on domestic violence and mental health, and I was very happy to see members of the Muslim community present there. And uh, since then, I've not known any other imams or like Muslim community leaders to take that initiative upon themselves. I feel like one, our imams are underpaid and they're not professional counselors. Um, but we are what we should encourage is that Muslim, professionals who do work in healthcare, and particularly psychology and counseling, that they do want to offer their help to the community. So if you do know a person like that, link them up with imams or masjid administrators,
Yeah,
because this is something that's very much needed in our communities.
yeah, agree with.
Um, all right, let's see what else do we have. Okay, let me see. Okay, how do you feel, brothers? Oh no, we already answered this already. Subhanallah. Let me see. Uh, okay, because I need the energy, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do streams like this. uh, Let me see here. Uh,
I do it for fun, to be honest. I like the taste of coffee.
mhm.
Well, not coffee, not strong coffee like you. I like more milky, my
No,
coffee,
I
but
can't drink it with milk. I actually look
I
down on people who
I
drink
think
it with
it's
milk.
absolutely madness that you don't drink it with milk, bro. I've got the proper filter coffee thing, the little one you put on the hob,
Subhanallah,
and then I'll
subhanallah.
always boil half a mug of milk as
yeah.
well, and then I'll mix
Well,
the
you
two.
look like a mug of milk, so that's why you probably do it. But
Boom, boom.
to me, I love the taste of coffee, and you know what they teach is that as you get older, your taste buds change, right? And the older you are, you like more powerful flavors and tastes. So
Mm,
older people like to taste things which are more bitter, which is why I like coffee, like really bitter, like dark roast, punch you when you wake up. I drink one sip and I'm okay. It's morning again. Okay, time to get to work. That's what I that's what I feel like, right?
I can't.
Ahmad,
check
this
this
is
out.
a
Check this out
this
for madness as well. My daughter
mhm.
likes olives. She's only
Oh
Mashallah.
my god.
I
She's
know
Really?
she's
sounds
gonna be
so
a heavy coffee drinker like you by the time she's 12, isn't she? She's
mashallah.
going straight in with
Oh
it.
man. What I miss about kids is their sense of discovery. Like everything is new to them. So they're constantly like surprised by everything around them. And
Yeah.
they're endlessly curious, mashallah. Um, what I like it is when parents give their kids a sip of coffee for the first time, and the kids just spit it out everywhere. I'm like, why do you drink this trash? Yeah, just wait till you're
Yeah,
my
yeah,
age. You're gonna
yeah,
love
yeah.
it. You'll see.
We had
That's
a
right.
similar thing, not coffee. So when I was younger, all my family were big on their like alcohol,
Uh-huh.
and
Mm-hmm.
so like especially the Polish, they like their homemade vodka that's like 99% alcohol. It's like a
Okay.
yeah, if you ever take a sip of it, it gives you a headache like straight
Wow.
away. But they were in the habit of like let them have a taste, let them have a taste. And obviously as a kid, you're completely ignorant of what you're about to consume, and you have a little bit, and then it's just absolutely disgusting. But yeah, so for the non-Muslim side of that, it's not coffee; it's worse things.
99% proof vodka. Okay,
Yeah,
subhanallah.
I don't think
Uh,
they give that to the kids,
wow.
but
Wow, can you guys see this? I'm talking about like caring for those in the community, and EF Dawa, the official EF Dawa account is trolling us. Ijaz, how do you feel about Chelsea not winning today? Well, it depends. If you're Anis, how do you feel about not being a good club? How do you feel about
Oh,
signing up for Europeans Super League that just collapsed? How do you feel about betraying your fans and supporters? How do you feel about your club forcing a Muslim star, Muhammad Salah, right, an Egyptian Muslim, to celebrate Christmas and take photos of a Christmas tree, right? I don't remember Chelsea doing that. So if there you go, mashallah, there you go. You learned. You see, you
bro,
learned.
bro, Branis, we got roasted by Jazz.
Right. I love Anis, by the way. By the
Yeah,
way,
mashallah.
if you ask me between Anis and Dr. Imran, who's nicer, it's tough. It's a tough to tell you
Yeah,
because both of
definitely.
them are some of the most loving people you will ever meet.
Well,
Yes,
bless them
Bana.
both.
I
Amen.
Increase.
mean, abundantly. I mean.
Someone's taking the mick out of my headphones in the comments. I think
What
that
are they
man.
saying? Let me see. I don't see any comments.
Brother
But you can.
Yusuf's headphones laughing emoji. What's the beef? The reason I get the big ones is because when you
I
sit
know.
on a stream all
I
day,
think because I think because you were in one ear, yes, and in one ear above.
oh, like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I've got
brother
to
Yusuf.
clear
I don't know if you're married or not, but brother Yusuf is looking cute and funny.
up. I'm definitely not. No, I've got to listen for my daughter, so that's why
Yeah,
I've got
Oh,
yeah.
mashallah.
an
Oh,
ear free.
he's using the daughter as an excuse for wearing his
Excuse,
headphones improperly, right?
No,
But
yeah.
I
she'd
I
have
know.
had him in my
I mean,
house on my own, would I? I've got to be able
Yusuf,
to hear if she starts
Yusuf,
crying.
here's the question, right? How do I know that you just not made her up as an excuse to wear your
Well,
headphones in a
otherwise, you're
funny
going to
way?
make me bloody go and live stream and watch this sleep. Doesn't prove it.
But by the way, please keep brother Yusuf and his family in your duas. They're a very good, beautiful
Amen.
family, and I love hearing his daughter every time you play video games and on Discord, and she's just babbling away in
Yeah.
the background. That baby babble, you're gonna miss it when you get older,
She's
brother.
got the gift of the gab.
Mashallah. Okay, let's see here. The kids, the cool kids. So I just missed Ben's. Who is Ben's comment? There we go. Ben Ikra. Please subscribe to Ben Ikra. Ben Ikra Gaming. Uh, Ben is like a one man like shop for everything: gaming, cooking,
Cooking, chill,
streaming, TikTok. I,
shower.
I I don't know where Ben gets the energy from, but you can see by the because I think he has the teardrop tattoo. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
teardrop tattoo is him crying permanently for all the stress that he has. Okay,
Taylor increasing.
so let's we're
Amen.
gonna wrap up, inshallah. I want to wrap up. I want to thank brother Gigabyte for coming on, and I know that it's difficult to share our difficulties on stream at public, and we know that there are people out there who will try to use this against us. I saw one or two people trying to make fun of us. I banned them immediately. Use scumbags will burn in hell. Just
You
letting you
did
know. Yeah,
you did a Google tactic on Among Us servers. You don't kill them. You ban
just
them.
ban done. Right.
Yeah.
Secondly, I know that it's a risk to speak about these things because what you risk happening now is that everyone tiptoeing around you all the time, right? So, so yeah, we love you, brothers and sisters. We appreciate your kindness and your goodwill. The number one thing that you can do for us is having a change in your own community and helping people who are differently able to sick.
Yeah.
That is the important thing. And inshallah, through this, may Allah make it easy, for everyone who needs support in the community. When I make dua, right, I don't make just dua for myself and my family and my friends and my colleagues. I make dua for anyone, person who is unsafe, that Allah grants them security, a person who is in a place of hurt, that Allah grant them peace. I pray that if a person is distant from Allah, that He grants them taqwa and nearness and ihsan. But I make dua for everyone in all circumstances because I know that there's not a single one of you out there who does not need Allah in his lives, and with Allah in your lives, inshallah, may things get better for all of us. Ameen. Any final words, Brother Gugabyte, as we say goodbye to everyone in the chat?
No, I don't think.
How about
I cannot think.
how about subscribe to Gigabyte? How about that? Does that work? Subscribe to Gigabyte. What's
Yeah.
the count, brother Yusuf? You've been posting the link regularly. Let me see
It's
here.
spamming.
That's
Need
all
to
you
ban
ban me
Yusuf.
now.
Let's
What's
see.
a Google? There you go.
Masha, 119. Can we get up to 120, guys?
Alhamdulillah.
120, please. Just one
Bro,
more sub.
I almost missed your message. You messaged me on Twitter. I didn't see it, but when I checked my mails, I saw Ijaz message you. So Alhamdulillah, I have
And
missed it.
Yusuf Ponders, actually is the one that made that connection. And I'm like,
Oh really?
so thank you, brother Yusuf, because I wasn't sure if I should do it or not, and he just like do it. I'm like, done. I'll do it.
That's why he knew about that.
Subhanallah.
Because he said, you said on Yusuf, you're gonna be tonight with us there.
Inshallah. All right, guys. Any final words from you, brother Yusuf Ponders? Anything else?
Yeah, no, Jazakallah khair, because obviously this is quite personal. And I can understand why that you wouldn't necessarily even want to talk about this kind of thing in public. But I think it does help for those that suffer from ignorance on these issues, to hear these kind of stories, and so to get this insight, because even personally myself, specifically I'm talking about here, like I have no deep experience with this, so I wouldn't have known half of the things had you not said them to me today. So inshallah, may this be a means of motivation for not just me but for the ummah in general, to sort of what's the word, pull the finger out, and to get a bit more active and a bit more involved in sort of trying to help and resolve these issues. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you both shifa
Ameen.
and patience, and may He forgive your sins through all of this, and may Allah bless you both.
There was just one more comment I wanted to respond to. I missed it. Where is it? My cousin is taken care of for the sake of Allah of disabled people. Do you have any advice I can give to him? Just remind him not to lose his compassion, because it can burn out, that all the frustrations that he's going through, if it's for the sake of Allah, keep in mind that these people, are suffering themselves, and they will lash out every now and then. They don't mean to, they don't want to be angry people, but they're in a constant state of suffering, and so it makes it difficult for them to be personable all of the time. So please forgive them if they're irritable or they make a snidey comment here or there. They genuinely don't mean it, but their lives are very difficult and they don't know how to cope. So let them just be kind to them, inshallah, if he can in return. It's not their fault if they do say something mean or improper. May Allah make it easy for your cousin, Ameen, and may He continue to make it a means of Jannatul Firdaus for him, Ameen. Guys, thank you for joining me today. I do appreciate it, and inshallah, we can have further streams like this if you guys are available again.
Inshallah,
And at the end of the day, we only do this for the sake of Allah. I don't care if whatever happens to me. The point is, at the end of the day, we do this for Allah's sake and His sake alone. Ameen.
May Allah purify our intentions and give us guidance.
I'm gonna send you a bill tomorrow.
Invoice 2 hours worth of time.
Inshallah, we'll see what happens. I mean, the internet, is bad here in Canada, here, so we'll find out. All right, guys, thank you for watching us, and Ramadan Mubarak. May Allah accept all your fasts, all your du'as, all your prayers during this most sacred of months. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa